So thanks, Faith Hardison, Godbold, for coming on and taking time to do this interview with me. Again, I was on earlier, so I am welcoming back everyone that might have joined me earlier at 2:30 during a previous interview. And so before I even have Faith start kind of talking a little bit about her business and things like that, I wanted to just let people know that she and I have a similar interest. You can see in the background, she's actually doing the Zoom through her business and
Yes.
her business location, should I say. And so in the background is a beautiful, beautiful wreath. And that's basically what she and I do. So she knows now that people are looking at her wreath. So I'm going to have to do my own and make my own wreath and broadcast it. But she makes beautiful, amazing wreaths. And she and I are both in one of the wreath making groups together, and that's kind of how our relationship took off. I actually am in the same wreath making group with her, and they actually the owner of that particular group, or the host of that particular group, actually does some amazing wreath work as well. So I'm happy that was the way that I met Faith, because it's an amazing opportunity to meet people like her. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Faith Hardison Godbold, and she's actually going to be sharing a little bit with us today about her business and her experiences working as a woman of color, and how that kind of impacts her the work that she's doing, and as well as her overall interactions with other people. So Faith, without further ado, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, about your business, what got you started?
Sure. I want to first thank you, Simone, for this opportunity and for just even thinking of me for this. I was telling my A Touch of Faith community last night that when I think of Black history, really, I don't think of me, but you are now making me think of Faith Hardison Godbold, Faith Godbold. So I want to
Absolutely.
thank you, first of all, for the opportunity. I want to thank the Beautiful Bold Brave group, and also the A Touch of Faith community is here today. I also see some Our Power community members here, and the Francis D.
Wow.
Hardison Ministry. So thank you guys for joining us live on Facebook, and those who are watching the replay. As we've already forestated, you all know I am Faith Godbold, for those who don't know me. And I have been an educator for 22 years and a business owner for about 3 years. By day, I am a curriculum technology coordinator for Florence One Schools here in Florence, South Carolina. And then on the nights and weekends, I'm the CEO and founder of A Touch of Faith. And I will tell you that I've had that name, A Touch of Faith, for the longest. When I was a little girl, I used to create invitations. Not little girl, I was a younger girl, I should say. I would create invitations and wreaths. Not reach, I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead, invitations, and also like flyers for people getting married or graduating. And so the name A Touch of Faith, I started using really as a teenager. It just always, stuck with me. And then I had a colleague back in 2014, a teacher friend, she said, let's try making wreaths. And at that time, I really had no idea that people really made wreaths, but I said, okay, I'll give it a try. And you know how it is when you make something and you show someone else, that someone else will say, oh, I want one. And so that's how I unofficially began prior to starting my business officially. And so just showing what I had created and seeing the happiness that it brought others, it made me want to start doing that, as a business. And so I'll tell you, I had no idea that this is what I was going to do. I stopped making wreaths back in 2016 because I became sick with fibroids. So I really had not created them in a while. And then after having surgery, I decided I would return to making wreaths. And upon doing that, my boss at the time, this is in 2017, I gave her a wreath for Christmas, and she gave me such high compliments about my
Mm-hmm.
work. And she made me start looking at it differently. And as my husband says, he made me see the gift, or she made me see the gift that was already there. He told me that today, actually, before the interview. He said, you know, you are now seeing what other people have been seeing the whole time. And my mom tells me that all the time. And I'm so glad Mom's here with us live in the Zoom room. So thank you, Mom, for being here. But
Thank you.
I have
Thank
to,
you.
yes, I have to tell you that, you know, we have these opportunities that come. And one of the things I have learned is to pay attention to conversations that you have, pay attention
Mm,
to those moments, because really a lot of times that's God speaking to us through other people. And so it was that conversation with my boss at Christmas time in 2017 that gave me the idea that this is something that I could actually do. And so
great.
lo and behold, we were supposed to return to school. It had been a winter break. It had been snowing, and all of a sudden we get a day out. So while we were home that extra day, my mom had given me the idea to start selling on Facebook. Well, Simone, I didn't even have a Facebook account. So I was not even on Facebook. I had to first create a Facebook account. And then I started by creating a Facebook group. And long story short, that is how I ended up on Facebook and the business that you see today. So I'm just super excited. I do spend a lot of time. This is my craft studio. So welcome to the studio. This is where I do my Facebook lives normally. And I also create,
Wow.
you can see in the background here, this is where I create. So if you could see the entirety of this room, there's so many projects and materials and supplies, but I feel blessed. I'm so thankful for my family who support me. I'm thankful for my husband. I say I'm a proud wife. I waited on God, and I waited for God to send me the man he had for me. And
Great.
I am just so blessed. And I'm super thankful to be here with you today, just to share a little bit of my story.
Well, I mean, what an amazing story. Thank you so much. I mean, again, to all of the women who are taking the time to meet with me and do these interviews, I think, you know, we're having an impact, you know. So, I mean,
Yes.
because the common theme for the past couple days anyway, the common theme has been God. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like he's making something happen.
Mm-hmm.
And and just and just like Prophetess Partisan said, we've got to listen. We've got to
Yes.
listen, you know?
Absolutely.
So, um,
Absolutely.
so, so how, would you say your work, with making wreaths, how do you feel that contributes to the growth, or your prior experience, excuse me, in education? How is that contributing to the growth that you're seeing in your work with wreaths?
Yeah, I want to go back for a second before I answer all of that, Simone.
Yeah.
Not only now, my business did first begin with just wreaths, but now I've expanded to bows, centerpieces,
Oh wow.
flags for lanterns. I even did a mantle, like a garland for a mantle at Christmas,
Yeah. Yeah.
this past year. And then I started, of course, listening to my customers, and they started showing me some other things that they wanted. So I also now do t-shirts. Normally, my audience, they know I'll wear my Touch of Faith shirt. I think I had it on the day you and I spoke. So I
Yeah.
have t-shirts, I have earrings like the one you see here, even
You
mugs.
made the earrings?
Well, so what I do, I can make them, but I did not make these. I add the
Okay.
monogram to it. So I
Okay.
have these on my website. So I actually have a website and
Yeah.
an Etsy store where my customers are able to purchase. And Simone, I am shipping products out all across the United States. Just today, I had 3 orders come in for some St. Patrick's Day bows. So people are definitely finding a touch of faith. And it brings me such happiness just knowing that I'm able to bring happiness to them. So I thought I'd share that with you before answering your question. But I will have to tell you that I've been an educator all of my life. All I ever wanted to do was be a teacher. And my mom can
Hmm.
tell you that from probably early on, maybe 5 years old, that's all I ever talked about. I would play school, and even my brothers, I'd get them to play school. They got tired of that sometimes because I'd make them take tests. But, you know, I only wanted to be a teacher. So just to tell you a little bit about that background, I was a classroom teacher for about 17 years. I've taught 4th grade and also our gifted and talented program, grades 3 through 6. And then in addition to that, I've had the privilege of teaching teachers and other adults. I've been doing that probably for about 17 years now, teaching teachers. And so throughout my journey, I've had an opportunity to teach topics such as podcasting, marketing, newsletter publication. These are all courses that I wrote. And by wrote, I mean, I did. Yes, ma'am. I did the research and I created the curriculum for all of these courses in our district. And so a lot of times these would be courses that my gifted and talented students would take, or it might be recertification or graduate level courses that our teachers would take.
Right.
And so in addition to that, I've had an opportunity to travel all across South Carolina. I even traveled to Washington, D.C. and did a presentation back in 2008. So I've had numerous things occur in my career as an educator that I now see is spilling over into my business. Not one time could I have ever told you that I would be creating commercials for A Touch of Faith, but I'm using those skills that I taught myself as a classroom teacher when I was teaching students how to market a product or how to create a newsletter. So I'm sending out newsletters now to my A Touch of Faith customers and to my audience. I can even see how a recent podcast that I did on my business page. I just wanted to try something different. So I did an inspirational podcast where I published that on my page for A Touch of Faith. And then I can also do the flip side of that, Simone. I see now where my teaching is spilling over into my business. So I can flip it in that I have actually had some people seek me out and now they're curious and they want to learn more about how to start a business, or they want to learn how do you create a wreath or how do you make a bow? So I now have 2 Facebook groups where I am teaching other people. I have a business group. And then as of today, I have my very first member. I'm doing a Create with Faith group. So those who are interested in learning from me, I'm able to share. So I see how God has used me not only as a teacher and the information that I've taught, but also now the things that I've done in my business, I'm using that. And then I'll flip it and go ahead and give you another answer for that. I see how the things that I've pursued on my own for my business, it's helping me for Florence One Schools. Right now at school, we're preparing next week. We're going to have a Read Across America because of Dr. Seuss's birthday coming up March 2nd. And so we are planning our first ever virtual school assembly. We're going to take advantage of using some Google technology. We're even going to hopefully do a Facebook live streaming. So again, those are things that I've pursued as for my business, but I see how now it's also helping me with my educational job. So everything is all a win-win. It's working for my good. And I see that every day.
Good for you. Well, you're busy.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely busy, but I love it.
So, but how do you balance that? I mean, how do you balance all that you do, you know what I mean, and still take good care of yourself?
I will tell you one of the things that helps, and I'll tell you my number one thing is I tell myself that I can only do one thing at a time. So I focus on just that one thing, knowing that if I can do that one thing really well, then I know I'm ready to move on and add that second thing. There are so many times we have so many things going on, and I'm guilty of it at times. You may start one project, and in the midst of starting that one, you start on a second and you don't see yourself quite finishing. So one of the things that helps me is every day I do what I call a brain dump, because I have so many ideas and so many things I want to accomplish. So I just dump them out of my head and I get them in a list form. And then as I have that time, I tackle that list. And that goes for my day job as a curriculum technology coordinator, and then when I'm working for A Touch of Faith. And what I find is the overwhelm never goes away, but you become better at managing the overwhelming feeling. So if you have some strategies in place, some systems, I will tell you that is key. But my number one thing that I've said a lot lately is just focus on doing one thing and do that one thing really well before you start tackling something else.
Right. Because that gives you the ability to move on and do something, to start something else. Having that sense of accomplishment, definitely, it drives you to do more anyway. So definitely finishing one thing at a time and then going on to the next thing. Absolutely.
Yes. And what I've learned too, Simone, we have to remind ourselves we're in charge of our business. And I was having this conversation with my dad right before we came on the live. I know a lot of times we feel like we have to get it done, but ultimately, if we are the boss, the CEO, the founder, the owner, you can set your schedule. So it's up to us to make sure we create that balance. It's up to us to not overdo it so that we can still be here to take care of our families. And I've learned if I'm not taking care of Faith, I can't be there for my husband, for my parents, my brothers. I want to make sure
Right.
that I'm a well-rounded person so that I'm doing those things for me first so that I can be there for others.
Absolutely. So I'm getting from what you're saying is one of the things that we as women should do is to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves first.
Yes, absolutely. That's a
Good,
biggie.
good. And so what advice would you give other women, especially since we're talking about Black History Month, what advice would you give women of color who are interested in pursuing entrepreneurship? So women
My
of color in particular, but other women as well. What type of advice would you give them if they want to pursue or start a business?
I think my number one advice would be to have some sort of mentor or
Mhm.
coach. As Simone mentioned, she and I were in a business group together, and that has created a wonderful network of other women who are
Mm,
also doing the same thing that we are doing. It helps when you can connect with like-minded people, and I see that that's exactly what's happening for me.
yeah,
And with me, especially in my business group, I see where I've had women actually reach out to me and they say, "Hey, Faith, I am interested in learning how to do this whole business thing." And so, without even realizing it would turn into this, because I really started last year, probably during the pandemic. I think it was May. I had a young lady reach out to me and she just wanted some advice. And it literally started with me sharing my experience of this is
okay.
how I started, this is what I did first. And before we knew it, it was almost like 6 months had passed. Someone
Hmm.
else was reaching out, and I said, "Gosh, I've got to figure out a way to either duplicate myself, like make a copy of me so I can be in multiple
Right?
places,
That would
or
be nice.
it would be, yes, because look, because my motto is everyone needs a little faith. And that might be a touch of faith, like inspirationally, or it could be a little bit of faith Godbold, right? So,
Right.
yes. So, since I couldn't figure out how to replicate me or duplicate myself, I said, maybe it's time I need to look at creating a formal way to provide this information. And that's exactly
Yeah.
what I'm doing. We meet every week and
Hmm.
we have wonderful sessions. And a lot of times they'll just bring questions that they have, or
Yeah.
I will teach a lesson. And again, there's that whole teacher in me. So I'm still teaching, I'm teaching others. But I
Right.
feel like that would be my number one advice. You want to connect with like-minded people. Find someone who
Mm,
is doing what it is you desire to do, hook up with that person, connect. And I
right.
think that is the key to success. Because so many times you have people who are out there all by themselves, not realizing they don't have to have this journey alone. They can have those connections with those people. So that would be my advice.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. And then are there things that you wish you had known prior to starting your business?
Thought about this. I would say the one thing that I wish I had known prior to starting is that
Hmm.
Etsy existed. Because when I first started, I actually was interested in a way to sell at craft shows outside of selling within my group, my Facebook group. And so,
Okay.
had I known that Etsy existed, I would have started first there. And the reason I say that is I actually did the reverse. I started with a website.
Hmm.
And anyone who knows anything about websites, you have to drive traffic to your website. Etsy is a mall, if you will think of it that way. And
Right.
people are on Etsy all the time. I looked it up the other day, and I think it said as of 2019, there were like 45 million shoppers on Etsy. And that number was steady increasing. And having
Mm,
said that, what I mean is people will find you if you know how to work Etsy. They will find you a lot quicker than maybe you can sending that one or two people here and there to your website. So
right.
for me, had I known that, I would have started differently. But I will tell you, having the business training that I have now, it has
Mm,
changed things so much. I'm learning so much in the groups that I'm in. We
yes.
have a great system where we have weekly training sessions. There's even some opportunities, sometimes daily, where we can connect and come together, and videos and all sorts of resources are available. So those are things too, I think I would add, knowing that there are places you can go. And like I
Yes.
said before, you're not alone in it. Someone else has already done it before you. So take
Mm,
advantage of that and learn from that individual.
absolutely. Absolutely. Great answers.
Yay.
And why did you decide to be a speaker for us? Or should I say, why did you decide to participate in this interview, should I say?
Okay. I think several things come to mind. Number one, I've never done anything like this before, Simone. So I felt like that was God sending you my way. So, and like I
Yes.
said before, I pay
What
attention
is it
because
about me? What is
I
this
don't
message?
know. I don't know, but obviously, so I'm going to go ahead and say like my mom did. Obviously, the fact that you chose me and you ended up choosing my mom and some others, there's obviously something God is doing through you through this. That's what I'm going to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
And my
Yeah.
mom's on Zoom. Mama, you can give me a thumbs up if you agree. She just gave me a thumbs up. Okay. So what I mean by that is God places us where he needs us to be in order to
Mm,
get to us what he has for us.
right.
I say that about my business. And I'm going to go back and answer your question. This was not anything I ever asked God for. Again, I only wanted to be a teacher. But lo and behold, one day, like I told you, my former boss, she planted the seed, but I know that was God.
Mm-hmm.
My business group that I have, I know that that young lady, and she's actually on the live. I'm going to give her a shout out. Hey, Bethany, you are awesome. Thank you so much.
Hi,
That young,
Bethany.
yes, that young lady reaching out to me, I didn't know where that was leading, but I answered the call and I said yes, as my mom said yesterday. And that was God. And I say all that to say, I feel like God sent you to me because this was what he was ready for me to do next. And I hadn't
Mm.
prepared to even say that. That wasn't even the answer I prepared for you, Simone. But anyway, I really do feel that in my heart. I feel like that's
Mm-hmm.
what he had for me because I don't know where he's going to take me based on this interview today.
Right.
But in addition to that, I feel like we all have a story to tell. And what I
Mm.
have come to learn is what we do is not about us, or rather, it's not just about us, but it's so that
No, it's not.
we can help someone else.
Right.
And I feel like my life is full of stories. I have wonderful stories that I can tell. Some
Yeah.
stories may not be wonderful as I tell them, but the
Mm-hmm.
ending is wonderful. And, I feel like God, through me, is showing other women that it's
Mm.
never too late and you're never too old. And he can bring dreams to pass. It can be dreams that you never had, but it's dreams he had for you. And he
Mm-hmm.
implants those or imparts them into you. I think back on the year 2019. My mom, God gave her the vision and the sermon for the year 5779. The wait is over. And that's the
Mm.
message that I always hold dear and true. We don't have to wait anymore. Why are we waiting?
Right.
God has already made
Exactly.
He's already made the way for us. But it's
Right.
up to us, as I said earlier, we have to pay attention. We have to listen to those whispers, to those, still voices, maybe on the inside. It may be something coming from someone else. So a
Right.
lot of times we are sitting back waiting for God to do it, but he's already done it. He's just waiting on
Mm-hmm.
us. So
Yeah.
I would say those are the reasons why I am here today. And I feel like something I've said today, I do believe will impact your audience and
Yeah.
give them that ray of
Absolutely.
yes, give them that ray of sunshine. We all have a light. Sometimes our lights don't shine. And what I've learned is God has given me a special, unique way of showing my light. And it comes through my
Mm.
business, it comes through the words of inspiration that I give my community. And we never know how God will use us. but I know that this was all ordained. I know it was in his plan.
Apparently it has been.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Very, very powerful, strong words. And I hope that those who are listening take, some of that information and use it to propel themselves forward, to follow their path. I mean, because it definitely goes back to what you were saying. Our paths have already been laid out. We just have to, stop and listen and think about what's being said to us.
Yes.
Again, whether it be through God's message or whether it be through interactions with other people, because those can be very profound as well, interacting with other people. So absolutely.
Yes.
And let's see. So how do you feel this information that you're sharing, that you're presenting today, how do you feel this will enhance women's mental health and overall wellness practices?
I hope women will walk away from this today realizing that they have to, first of all, take care of themselves. We talked about balance. Take care of themselves so they can be there for those who depend on them. And that person might be a husband, it might be a child, it could be coworkers. So taking care of yourself first. I hope that today's interview has shown you that there is a God and he still works miracles and he is truly amazing. And we just have to open ourselves up to him and allow him to do the work that he already wants to do in us. I hope that you today will see that you should always have faith. I tell my community all the time, have faith and never give up. And one of the things I'm a firm believer in is we will make it through everything. And I know sometimes when you're going through, it may not seem like it, but if you can either reach back in your history and think about a time where maybe you were going through and you couldn't quite see your way. And I'll give you an example. I can remember when I was sick with fibroids and how, awful I felt every day for months. However, I made it through that. And so now when I have things happen or things come up, I can think back on how I made it through that situation. So I know that God's going to bring me through. And then I also like to move to the future and say that everything is on God's calendar. And so if you're facing anything today, you have to know that God's already worked out your delivery date, your date of deliverance, your date of your miracle or your blessing. And if you can just remind yourself that you will get to that date. I tell my mom this all the time. You just have to tell yourself, you're going to get there. You don't know when, but if you can just remind yourself that this has already been placed on God's calendar, you're going to make it. And so if you can hold those things true, and as I said, have faith, just don't give up because everything truly is already worked out and it's going to be okay. And during this pandemic, I have really been a firm believer in that we have to focus on the good. Right now, so many people are easily distracted by the bad things because that's obvious. But if
absolutely.
Yes, but if you can take a moment every day and look for something good in your day, something that happened, I promise you, you will start to feel better and your whole output will change.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
thank you so much.
Thank you.
And then, so the other question that I have is, how do you promote your business and what platform do you use and how can people get in touch with you?
Okay, so I promote my business on social media. I am on Facebook. ATO Faith is the easy way to find me. I am also on Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, and YouTube. In addition to that, I have done some commercials. My dad has a Sunday morning broadcast in Sherrall, South Carolina, the Emmanuel Gospel Program. And so I've done some commercials there. I look forward to always sharing my business cards. I carry my promotional materials in my purse. I have them in my car in case I ever need them. So I do Facebook. That is my number one. I love utilizing Facebook Live. And I never thought I would love Facebook Live because this is really something I'm still new at. I think I started really doing lives almost about a year ago. And now we go live every Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern and also every Saturday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And then
Okay.
occasionally I'll have pop-up lives throughout the week. So I love showing my community what I'm working on. Like right before we went live, Simone, this whole table was covered. So anyone who knows me, like my husband, my mom, I clean up before live. So I cleaned up, put away the projects, but I always love sharing with my community, and they're my family. So that's how I promote. I do have a website. So it's www.atofaith.com. You can also find me on Etsy, www.atouchoffaithshop.com. And I even have faithgodbold.com. I'm all over the place. So if you want to buy from me, check out those websites. If you want to learn from me, go to www.learnfromfaith.com.
Learnfromfaith.com. Wow.
Yes, learnfromfaith.com. And I have links to both the business group and also the Create with Faith group. They're both on that. And I see you posting them. You're awesome. Look at you.
I'm trying.
Yes. And I don't think my community knew I had the faithgodbold.com. So that's new for them. So yes, guys, I have faithgodbold.com. You can check that out as well.
Okay.
Can I add something to Simone? I was going to say, as we talk about Black history, one of the women that I think of instantly is my mom. And I have to give a shout out to my mom. She is my greatest cheerleader and supporter. And she's here always celebrating me and pushing me. And the reason she stands out in my mind is because early on, her life story was different. She got married early on. And so she put herself, I would say, on the back burner. She spent her early years being a mom and a wife, and just training us really. And as you can see through me, and if you were to meet my brothers, you see the same thing, but she trained us to be the people we are today, people of faith. And I am super proud of my mom, because now in her later years, she has developed her own brand, and I am helping her build that brand. And I never knew that God would use me to do that. But just like I have ideas for A Touch of Faith, God gives me ideas for her. And her personality is such, she's like, when I tell her something, she's like, okay, I don't know what you're saying, but we will make it happen if you say so. And that's how we do. So I just wanted to acknowledge my mom for Black History Month, because she, even though she may not realize it, she is a huge influence, and she will always be in my heart, just that number one person. So I love you, Mom. Thank you.
Yeah, our moms, where would we be without our moms?
That is right. Absolutely.
So we have run out of time. I do apologize. But I appreciate you coming on and taking the time to meet with me and share all of this information. Has been so inspirational. And like I said earlier, I'm hoping that the women who are watching, even the men who are watching us, take away, look, you've got your mom in. She's having those eyes.
Absolutely.
She loves you so much.
Yes,
but
she does.
But I hope that they take away this information and use it to benefit their lives and the interactions that they have with other people, because it's so important.
Absolutely. And thank you again for this opportunity, Simone. And I look forward to sharing your group, my community. I look forward to sharing that. I'll be sure to put some links out there for them to check your group out as well. So I'm super excited about this. We'll see where God takes us.
Oh, I know. I'll be in touch. Believe that.
Yes, absolutely.
Have a good one.
Bye everyone.